So we don't see ourselves as we don't sell coffee. I mean, that's a core piece of what we do. We sell everyday food therapy
Mm.
because coffee itself it's creating those moments, and those moments for both mental and physical. We know this is like, it's got more caffeine than a Red Bull,
Mm.
just one of these little minis.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you get the physical energy, but it's a mental approach, because then you can go down and you can think all of a sudden, wow, I don't actually have to go out to a coffee cafe. I can just make this myself. I can put into exactly it comes out of the pantry or it comes out of the fridge. I can spike it with alcohol. I can spike it with whatever I want. Now, then you've got that little bit of space, that little moment you can create at any time within a few seconds.
All right, Brian. So that red light came on. This is high stakes podcasting. How do you feel? Do you want to go forward? Are you nervous? How are you feeling?
Always nervous when speaking, but yes, let's go. Let's hit it.
All right, everybody, we're in. Let's actually do it. Let's do the real podcast. Well, I always love to start. I would love to get your 90-second pitch. Who you are and what does your company do?
Okay. Brian Direen, I'm entrepreneur since I was sort of pretty much left school, started out on a farming background, left school very early, went back to school when I was in the mid-30s, did an MBA, international business, and I was a co-founder of a company called Unistraw, based out of Sydney, Australia. My co-partner had developed a new delivery system using straws, filled it with tiny little beads, flavoring milk, adding vitamins and liquids into various beverages. Built a factory in China, built another one in Korea, put one into the USA. We sold 1 billion of these straws over the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Did a sellout in 2013 to a pharmaceutical company. And then I've sort of worked on smaller, doing some consultancy work for other companies, but mainly all in international business. And then one day out of the blue, a long-term colleague of mine, Joe, rang up from LA and said, look, he says, Brian, he says, I've got this new cold chaga coffee. It's using this Alaskan grown chaga. It's unbelievable. I've known Joe for like 10 years or so, and he's not really a coffee drinker. And I thought, well, Joe drinking coffee? And he says, look, it's just so good. He says, you've got to come and see it. So short time later, flew to LA, tried this coffee, and I thought, wow, this is, and I'm a cold coffee obsessive. And
Okay.
one of the most frustrating things for me was that, traveled a lot, like for 30 years, I've traveled pretty much a lot of places around the world. So I had a lot of good coffee, but when you're sitting at home, you've got a home office and you're 10 or 15 minutes away from a cafe, or traveling on a plane or sitting in a hotel room, how do you actually make a coffee that actually tastes great and have
Yeah.
it the way I like it? So it was through that frustration and meeting up with Joe and drinking this coffee was how OGI was born.
It's awesome. That's great. Well, I think we can make one, right? Because I think the uniqueness about this is I think you can actually make one for people to watch while we're actually sitting here and talking. So maybe I'll ask this next question, and if you can, maybe show visually what's kind of happening by the scenes. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about the technology around having it be a shelf-stable coffee. What does that sort of mean in
Okay, so
your
the
world?
background, before I make a coffee, the background is that when I come back from LA and drinking this coffee, and understanding my own frustrations, I did a little bit of research, and we found that particularly younger generations, and not just in America, but in Japan and China and India, these markets are all moving, the younger consumer is all moving to cold coffee. That's number one. They like good coffee, they like cold coffee, but they all love it. And the biggest single thing they love to do is customize it. They're drinking this stuff with soda, they're drinking it with alcohol, they're drinking it with orange juice, they're drinking it with water. It's just like, you name it, they can put it into. So the overall love the taste of good tasting, of the flavor of good tasting coffee, but they love it just however they love it, that's the way they want it. So we've did this research, and then I sort of think, well, it's not just me that's got this frustration with creating cold coffee. There's there's millions of people. So I ring up my creative guy that we've long-term worked on a number of startup companies. I said, look, Fernando, we've got this new coffee, and we've got the flavor just like no other coffees for cold coffee's got. But we're not bringing out just another ready to drink can or an instant coffee. We need something that's completely new. We're creating a new category, and it has to be Instagram worthy for these younger generations. And so that was the brief I gave, and that was it. And we come back, and so to make a coffee, glass, little bit of ice if you want ice in it. And we created these little minis. I'll take the top off because it's a little bit hard doing this on. So just a little tiny little mini. Pour that into your glass. And this one I'll make I add. This is one of my favorite morning cold coffees. Is just to add a little bit of soda into it. So, and this is like one of the best tasting coffees you're ever going to get. And soda is soda coffee, whether it's tonic or just water, sparkling water or whatever it is works unbelievably good with when you've got really good cold coffee. And the trick is and I guess a little bit of background here is that when most people, when they're making, if you're going to customize it, you can't have just normal cold brew because it's already diluted. And so you can't put in whatever else. It has to be just the espresso only. But when you make hot espresso, the flavor is so volatile that it goes out. And, if you go back to the history of coffee and say, like Italy, espresso was made to be drunk within 2 minutes of coming out of a machine. 2 minutes. And that's why, if you go into Italy, I'm sure you've been over there, you normally drink coffee standing up. You go into a little coffee shop, cafe, and you stand up at the counter, they pour it and you drink it and then off you go. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you're making this as a cold product, then you've got to put it into your refrigerator and then you've got to keep it and then you've got to make it before time, etc., etc. So it doesn't really work. So we're working with a company that does the extraction for us, and they do it through a patented process that we take their coffee, there's no air, they do it through a process where there's no air in the coffee itself. And then we put it into, through our process, where it's infused with nitrogen, and we do some other processes that take that fresh extracted coffee, put it into our little minis, and the taste and the flavor of that coffee is almost the same on day one it is on day 180 or day 200.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's great. How do you think about sort of taste and quality and benchmarking it? Like, how are you ranking just those two factors in the industry?
We've used coffee tasters, as professional coffee tasters,
Okay.
in the USA and in New Zealand and Australia. So we've had these people test the coffee, benchmark it against other coffees, cold brews, normal standard cold espresso, which is made from a hot espresso machine. And they've benchmarked it against those. And honestly, everyone will say that it is the best cold coffee that they've tasted.
It's great. How do you think about category fit on a product like this? Is it something that's sitting with the energy drink products? Is it sitting in the coffee aisle of the market? Where exactly do you see this sort of the category fit right now? Is it people on the go, travelers, just at home?
Well,
How do you see it?
the occasion is very broad because if you're thinking where people are drinking cold coffee, you're thinking of, there's 5 billion airplane takeoffs every single year around the world. You're sitting on an airplane. What sort of coffee do you get? It's if it's made out of the water that's on the airplane, which is like, and the coffee is just like you're paying, thousands of dollars for a long haul flight, and you're getting this sort of coffee that most people just, you can hardly drink. If you're sitting in a hotel room, what do you get? You either got to go downstairs or you got to walk out to get a nice cafe. The hotel coffee and most hotel room coffee is just terrible.
Right.
If you're looking at home, yes, to get out you've got to make a customizable cold coffee, you've got to go out to a cafe, which is both expensive and time consuming. Or you got to try and muck around at home and you've got to make if you really want your own good coffee, you've got an espresso machine, then you've got to make it and then you've got to chill it. And so coffee is largely for most people, is all about creating those moments. And that little bit of experience, that unique experience that particularly younger people want, is absolutely critical for them. So it's just difficult.
Yeah.
So we've got the taste, but in terms of the category then, so we don't see ourselves as actually, we don't sell coffee. I mean, that's a core piece of what we do. We sell everyday food therapy because coffee itself it's creating those moments, and those moments for both mental and physical. We know this is like, it's got more caffeine than a Red Bull, just one of these little minis.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you get the physical energy, but it's the mental approach, because then you can go down and you can think all of a sudden, wow, I don't actually have to go out to a coffee cafe. I can just make this myself. I can put into exactly what I want. It comes out of the pantry or it comes out of the fridge. I can spike it with alcohol. I can spike it with whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then you've got that little bit of space, that little moment you can create at any time within a few seconds. So
Mm-hmm.
it is that food therapy, what we call food therapy, is really what we're selling. It's
Yeah.
that's emotional combo is a gap that nobody currently owns
Yeah.
until now,
Yeah.
and that's that.
Yeah. That's great. How do you think about, manufacturing and scalability right now? I mean, what is it, problems, good, bad? How does this kind
Well,
of think about it? But what does it look like?
so 2 years ago, since Joe made that phone call through, a year later, we were about to launch this product. We had set up a factory. Created the little minis. We had to get all the
Mm-hmm.
molds made for those minis. We had to get them produced. Then we had to get the molds made for the filling machine to actually fill them, because it's custom packaging. No one else has them.
Mm-hmm.
That takes money. It takes time. We got all that done. We set up a factory just out of north of Los Angeles, and we were going to launch it as a refrigerated product. We had the packaging. We designed it as, lovely, beautiful packaging, but as a refrigerated product. I don't know if you can see that, but it's, cool packaging. And then through conversation, with some highly technical people, we come across this or develop this process technology that would allow us to keep that fresh brewed flavor in those little minis for initially 6 months. Now it's 9 months. So to do that, we thought, oh, that's a game changer for us, because if you're selling, if you want to take it with you to use on an aeroplane or in a hotel room or at work or whatever, if you can just put it in your bag or your purse or carry it with you, it's just so easy. Had to get a new facility. We had to get in a lot more equipment, which has taken a lot longer than what we thought. Then you got to get what they call as a process authority letter. So you got to have cold coffee, which is shelf stable. It comes under an FDA regulation
Mm.
that you
Hmm.
have to meet. So you got to get a third party to verify what you're doing. That takes time, takes money. And then, so we had to move into a completely new facility when we were ready to launch, pretty much start again. So here's 12 months later. So yes, I guess it's a saying that if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but it's not. So anyway,
Yeah.
but we're there now. We've got production. I think our facility at the moment can do around 500,000 minis a month.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we can scale that now. Now that we've got all the pieces in place. We can quadruple that production in 3 months.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we've got real scalability.
Yeah. And you just put up the packaging a minute ago. One of the things that kind of caught my eye early on before we talked is just your brand identity. I mean, it is really clean, really crisp. Talk to me about maybe the conversations as you're pivoting and shifting on manufacturing about how to keep that brand, keep the aesthetics, make it look good, thinking about the audience that's on the other end of this. Just walk us through some of those conversations that you were having.
Yeah, so going back to, the idea of creating Instagram-worthy packaging and branding, and really it's about creating belonging particularly to these younger consumers. You're looking at,
Mm-hmm.
18 to 35-year-olds is sort of our target audience, sort of our bullseye. And these guys, a lot of them have been brought up on cold coffee. Some of them have never had a hot coffee, the younger ones. And they're looking for brands that can reflect their own lifestyle, their own identity. So you have to create this sense of belonging, and that's really why we created a packaging. It's a world first shelf stable minis. So we've got,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very modern. It's clean.
Yeah.
We don't have any sugar in it. There's no other ingredients. If you look at it, we've got 2 SKUs we're launching with just an espresso. The only ingredient is espresso, zero
Mm,
else.
mm, mm.
So coffee is probably one of the healthiest ingredients in most people's pantry. They just don't know that it is, because there's something like 150 bioactives in coffee. And it's shown, the biggest study ever, I think, was about over 10 years, 150,000 people, showing that if you drink coffee every day, 2 or 3 cups of coffee every day, it will not only increase your lifespan, but increase the time that you stay healthy in life by
Mm-hmm.
considerable amount. But all that goes out the window when you start adding sugar into it or
Sure.
other. So most of your
Right.
ready to drinks, chock full of additives and sugar and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got one ingredient or 2 ingredients really, is coffee and water, because you can't make coffee without water.
Right.
So it's
Right.
clean. It's a real ingredients. You got fresh brewed flavor. You've got clean branding, and you've got new packaging that people can show. It's just perfect for making on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
So the identity, the DNA is really all about creating something, helping people create those moments, those you moments during the day, wherever they are, whatever
Mm-hmm.
time. People coming over for a little catch up in the afternoon, or you're going out, you
Mm-hmm.
want to have a bit of a party, you make an espresso martini. But if you've got 6 people coming around for dinner party, you can.
Mm-hmm.
We're going on to channels like GoPuff. If you haven't got all the ingredients in the pantry, 30 minutes later, you've got some vodka, you've got some Coca-Cola, you've got whatever
Sure.
ingredients you want to go into it, you've got your coffee, and bang, you can make those customized coffee for 6 or 7 people in 20 seconds.
Yeah. Let's pivot over a little bit to what are the conversations around, right? Like around the retail strategy, as to where to put these, as the convenience stores, big grocery stores, chains, mom and pop. Well, what does this sort of look like right now behind the scenes?
Okay, so at the moment, not at the moment, go-to-market strategy initially is to launch online. So we've created a TikTok store. So we'll be selling through TikTok, and we'll be using TikTok influencers, affiliate influencers.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got about 30 of those lined up, ready to go now. Then we'll also have our own Shopify store on our own website. And so then we'll start moving that, a lot of that influencer user-generated content across Instagram, Facebook, etc. So we'll go into all the channels. And eventually all our social channels will be shoppable. And that's absolutely key to direct-to-consumer. And then following closely behind that, we're going into the natural, sort of the premium natural retail channel and starting in California and on the West Coast. So, you think Whole Foods, you think of Sprouts, you think of, those sort of retailers. And we've got, I think there's about 12 retail chains within that. Some of them smaller, Bristol's, some of them are smaller, some of them are nationwide. So we move into those relatively quickly, first and second quarter next year. And then once we've sort of got some, and it's easy to talk about going into retail chains and how many doors you're in or retailers you're in, but it's all really about execution. And so that's in-store marketing, getting your sampling programs going, along with your influencer campaign. So it's influencer campaigns, getting the sampling, getting product on lips is absolutely critical, because that's where the taste is. Use influencers to show people how they can create those moments within seconds. Then they taste it, and then it's just available for them wherever they are. And so
Gotcha.
yeah.
Let's talk. I want to talk a little about just fundraising in general for a coffee brand. Right now, you're running a crowdfunding campaign, which we'll have the link for. What was the conversations around the company? Why do it? Why launch this way? And then what are some of the milestones you're looking at for fundraising around, manufacturing, new products? Just where are those sort of milestones that you're trying to hit?
Okay, so we've funded, between John and I, we've funded the company, all the brand, all the manufacturing facility, everything we've done has been funded internally up to now. Well, up to recently. And then we brought on 3 new investors probably about 6 months back. So they made a seed round investment into us. And then we thought, well, what's the next? Because, we're looking at scaling. All our team are experienced in both startup ventures and also some of the big brands. We've had people, senior brand managers from Coca-Cola to people who worked on Red Bull, creatives, Ferrari. So we know how to scale these opportunities. And to do that, you need the right funding. And you also know that funding is a journey rather than sort of a one-off thing where you do this. And so when we looked at, do we go down the VC route and have a sort of a big group that can come along and fund you as you go? Or do we do the equity crowdfunding? And equity crowdfunding has got dual benefits in the fact that you've got people that are coming on, they like your story, they've tried your product, and they're passionate, really passionate about your brand. And more often than not, those people don't just come, investors. They come brand ambassadors, or they come partners in some response. They bring other, people in. Here's a new finance guy. Here's a new retail chain. Here's a new food service chain we can get into. So those people will help grow your business as much as what they will putting your funds in. So it's really about finding those strategic, smaller partners that are put some money in, they've got skin in the game, they love your brand, and they're gonna help you grow. So
yeah.
So crowdfunding is where it's at, and we've talked to quite a number of companies that have gone down that route. There's it doesn't matter what you do, there's always sort of pros and cons to anything, but we think the pros far outweigh simply because of that with equity crowdfunding. Yeah. So our goal at the moment is we've got the facility, we've got the brand, we're ready to launch. We want to raise like $500,000 right at the moment, over the next 2 or 3 months. And we're already part way through that already. So we've already built some momentum up. And then we will come back to it again. We've got product, you're selling through those retail channels, your TikTok sort of gaining momentum, and then we continue on.
Yeah. What kind of data do you have so far around what a customer lifetime value might look like? Like, do you have any sense of what that might be?
We do. That sort of needs a conversation almost by itself, because some of it is we don't really want to share, and some of it I really need to dig into a little bit more. But I think that's a conversation for another day, if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. How about like where do you see around milestones for the company? Like, where do you see your next year at this time? Where do you see sort of 3 years out, 5 years out? What is sort of that long-term roadmap looking like right now?
Right. So in the short term, with their funding that we've got a plan for or way through at the moment, we will hit $1 million a month in revenue by the second or third quarter next year. And we've had an agency, one of the biggest digital agencies in the US actually, and they put through what they call a validated program. So they go through and say, and this is just through digital without going into retail. So we can hit $1 million a month through the money we've got and the number of consumers we can attract with the type of marketing we've got, what the type of demand is from those consumers, from what their loyalty is on coffee to new brands, et cetera, et cetera. So they go through and they use like millions and millions of data points to work out whether you can scale and what you're planning to do. And so those, what they call validated numbers. So $1 million a month, and we've already got capacity for that easily enough. In fact, we've got capacity for more than that. So that's our first milestone goal in terms of sales. But over the longer term, over the next 5 or 6 years, we see ourselves going into $100 million plus brand.
Okay. And do you see multiple SKUs? Do you see a lot of new products, stuff like that too?
Yeah, we've got quite a. So we're launching with 2 SKUs, just a basic espresso, which is very smooth and easy to drink, and then the chaga infused espresso, and it's almost got a sweet taste to it. It's very, for people that don't like the taste of just pure coffee quite so much. And when you look at the data, there's only in America, I think there's only 16% of people actually drink their coffee black as espresso. So most people, doesn't matter where you are, if you go into a 7-Eleven and you got a ready to drink, or wherever you're drinking it, they'll fill it up with milk, they'll put in sugar, they'll put in all sorts of stuff into it. So you've got to wonder, actually, do they like the taste of coffee? But Coffee is outside of water is the number one consumed beverage in the world,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's all added stuff that's added into it that actually makes it pretty cool for a lot
Yeah.
of people, not everyone, obviously.
Yep. Well, Brian, where can people dive in if they're hearing this conversation for the first time? Where can they dive in, learn a little bit more, maybe even buy the product at this point? Where should we send people?
If if they're serious about wanting, they like the story, they can get on to. We've got a calendar out there. They can jump on a phone call. Have a 15 phone call with me or one of the other guys on the team. We've got decks and we can send to people. They can go on to the Pick Me crowdfunding platform. It's all there. The back end of Pick Me is run by a company called Dealmaker. They're one of the biggest SEC approved, all the companies that do the back end. I think it takes about a minute to actually,
Hmm.
to make an investment. They can start from $500 upwards. But if they want to, put in, if they're accredited investor, they can put in, 5, 10, 15, 50,000. And then we have what we've done is a bonus share platform, which is what we call a founder's circle. So you put an extra amount of this money, you come on board, you talk to me, you come on board, and then they get all these bonus shares because they're the people that we really want to get involved in the company. And say, some of them, we've got guys, will want to become distributors, others want to, do their own influencer campaigns.
Hmm.
So, yeah, they want to get
Very cool.
involved in the company more than just putting some money in.
Very cool. Well, Brian, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. And for all our listeners out there, you guys know I always have all the links in the show notes. So I'll make sure I have all those for everybody. I strongly recommend go check it out. Really unique company, great branding, good tasting. Everything is cool here. This is a really, really cool product. And I think something that people should really jump on and check out and do their due diligence and jump on. So Brian, again, appreciate you taking time out of your day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Steve. Excellent. Cheers.